rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Democrats. You know, the fact that they even do the things that they do and have been getting away with it has added to their arrogance. See, that's the only thing that I can figure, is that Democrats seem to have this arrogance in the fact that they believe that nothing is ever going to happen to them, which is part of the reason why I have advocated for on this show and will continue to advocate for this, that regardless of what political party or anything like that, if you are breaking the law, you need to be held accountable for it. And if that means you going to jail, so be it. That's just the way things are supposed to work. We are a nation of laws. We are a nation of law and order. And that is what things are supposed to do. It doesn't matter how long ago something was, well, I mean, obviously within the quote-unquote statute of limitations. But still, even if you have no, shall we say, criminal behavior that is able to be punished, in a situation like with what's going on with the Russiagate, you still need to get pulled in and investigated, asked about your involvement, to give testimony and that kind of thing. Because realistically, again, this is to stop people from doing it ever again. And that's just the way that we should be able to handle all of these things. Anyway, I've got some on that. I have also some more information in terms of what's going on with the gerrymandering, quote unquote, thing down in Texas. And so a couple of other things have popped that are sort of interesting that most of them, if not all of them, deal with Democrats. So, yeah, there you go. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is, of course, my better half, the love of my life, the woman who completes me. Tonight is Mrs. Whiskey up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Mrs. Whiskey as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank her for providing us with a wonderful rendition of the pledge, although it took me a long time to get it. Anyway, if you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing or reciting the pledge in your style. Take that video file, audio file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email and send it off to my email address. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And tonight's headline sponsor, it's Tuesday, so we're Institute on the Constitution every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for these guys because they have a mission that I truly believe in. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government, as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online, or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this, 1/8 of an inch, Saddleback leather, wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. The interior binding is not cheap glue. It is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if anything goes wrong in that time, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. My Rumble Whiskey Warriors have all said that it's got sexy rounded corners. And according to 3 Chevy, every book you buy puts a liberal in a orange jumpsuit. Well, I can't make that claim because that would be false, but it's a nice idea. Definitely is liberal or leftist and Democrat repellent, for sure. They hate this thing. Trust me, they do. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed the information contained within will help you get your civics badge in Scouts. Or you could also pass your civics test, maybe that new one that's coming out. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online, get yours today, and don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings, as they have some fantastic stuff there. And I, of course, thank them for allowing me to be a brand, or, be an affiliate. There we go. Oh, Buddy's got a great idea. Find a new American and present them with this righteous gift. Yeah, that would be cool for sure. All right. Yep, see, there it is. Find a new American, present it to them. That would be fantastic. They would have a keepsake for as long as they are alive. Oh, all right. Well, it seems like we've got some weather-related or Earth-related issues going on. We've got California having an earthquake, and we've got lightning storms down in Florida. Welcome to welcome to life. All right, let's go on. There was a poll that was taken by Rasmussen. A majority of voters believe that the deep state, Obama's deep state, committed crimes in Russiagate. Yep. So, more than 2/3 of the likely voters surveyed in the Rasmussen report survey said that there must be consequences for crimes committed in the scandal. So 69% of the 1,172 likely voters that responded basically said that, do you agree or disagree with this statement about the manipulation of intelligence in the Obama administration? Accountability has to take place. It is critical for the survival of our country that people who perpetrate such crimes be held accountable. That's what we've got. So 54% believe it's likely that members of former President Barack Obama's national security team committed crimes when they manipulated and manufactured intelligence to promote a false narrative about Russia and President Donald Trump. That particular number also includes 37% who said it was very likely crimes were committed. The poll found 41% who don't think it's likely to that for the poll found 41% who don't think it's likely crimes were committed by Obama administration officials, including 28% who say it's not at all likely. Yeah. They did. I'm just telling you, they did. They broke laws in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah. So there's that. Let's see. Nothing more on that front. Well, as far as the Epstein thing, because remember, we not only have an investigation into the Russiagate hoax, we have an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Both of these are, of course, happening at the House or in the House of Representatives, being overseen by the Republicans that are in charge. But Bill and Hillary Clinton have had subpoenas sent to them for testimony for them regarding Jeffrey Epstein. So the House Oversight Committee issued subpoenas for Hillary and former President Bill Clinton and a host of other high-profile Democrats seeking to compel testimony regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Committee Chairman James Comer issued additional subpoenas to former Attorney Generals Merrick Garland, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, and Alberto Gonzales, as well as former FBI directors James Comey and Robert Mueller. Fox News Digital reported the news on all of that, confirming that Comer also sent a subpoena to the Trump Justice Department, headed by Attorney General Pam Bondi, for records related to the ongoing Epstein investigation. The Clintons are scheduled for deposition in the first half of October, according to Comer's X account. The DOJ has until August 19th to turn in the requested records. Again, do not be surprised, okay, that nothing comes out of any of the records that come out of the Department of Justice. Because regardless, there still is court orders that are holding things back, that are in place for, I don't know, for protection for the witnesses, I'm imagining is probably the best guess. But anyway, so, yeah. They are also, by the way, the Trump DOJ as well is also paying attention to the fact that they may, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanches, however it's pronounced, and Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony may also be released. So remember that Deputy Attorney General Blanche went and met with Ghislaine Maxwell, talked to her for a day and a half. And so some of that may be released as well. We'll have to see what happens there. Again, I don't know if any of this is going to go on. And no, Buddy, I don't see Susan Rice in this list. Buddy was asking if Susan Rice was being asked to come in for the testimony regarding Jeffrey Epstein. I think Susan Rice was before Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't think she is involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Could be wrong, but yeah. So, now Comer's letter to President Clinton refers to particular topics that will likely come up during his deposition. Comer's letter states, by your own admission, you flew on Jeffrey Epstein's private plane 4 separate times in 2002 and 2003. During one of these trips, you were even pictured receiving a massage. from one of Mr. Epstein's victims. It also has been claimed that you pressured Vanity Fair not to publish sex trafficking allegations against your good friend, Mr. Epstein. And there are conflicting reports about whether you ever visited Mr. Epstein's island. You were also allegedly close to Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, an Epstein co-conspirator, and attended an intimate dinner with her in 2014, 3 years after public reports about her involvement in Mr. Epstein's abuse of minors. He continued to write, given your past relationships with Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, the committee believes you have information regarding their activities that is relevant to the committee's investigation. So, yeah. So, anyway, there was a statement that was put out by a Clinton spokesperson, on Angel or Angel, one of the Urena. And she tweeted this statement. She said, President Clinton knows nothing about the terrible crimes Mr. Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to in Florida some years ago, or those with which he has been recently charged in New York. In 2002 and 2003, President Clinton took a total of 4 trips on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane, 1 to Europe, 1 to Asia, 2 to Africa, which included stops in connection with the work of the Clinton Foundation. Staff, supporters of the foundation, and his Secret Service detail traveled on every leg of every trip. He had 1 meeting with Epstein in his Harlem office in 2002, and around the same time made 1 brief visit to Epstein's New York apartment with a staff member and his security detail. He has not spoken to Epstein in well over a decade and has never been to Little St. James Island, Epstein's ranch in New Mexico, or his residence in Florida. Now, remember, that was following Epstein's arrest in 2019. So, yeah. In addition to the 4 admitted trips, though, according to a Fox News analysis, Clinton traveled on Epstein's private jet 26 separate times. Other analyses of flight logs also led to claims of some fewer trips. So, yeah. Anyway. So, continuing, Doug Band, this is another one. Doug Band, a former top aide to Clinton, made shocking allegations in 2020 interview with Vanity Fair, including some claims that Clinton took a trip in 2003 to Epstein's famed private island. Epstein made at least 17 visits to the White House, according to presidential logs. So, yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. This is starting to drag on, and again, really doesn't affect anything that much because, again, I mean, as much as I want to see these people punished for whatever they may or may not have done, the challenge here, of course, is the fact that are we looking at, statute of limitations here? Are we looking at, realistically what they need to do is they're needing to just completely clear Trump from the Epstein files, even though Epstein's files do have Trump's name in them because, again, he flew the plane from New York back to Florida. He's admitted to that. He's admitted to having a relationship with Epstein. He has, he's been open and honest about everything. And so, realistically, I don't know if this is really going to gain anything other than maybe fulfilling a promise. That's about it. And realistically, as Buddy points out, trying to get politicians on sex crimes is super hard. You're right. That's because they all freaking do it. I mean, if anybody was really going to get in any trouble for sex crimes, it would have been Eric Swalwell for sleeping with Fang Fang, because Fang Fang was a known CCP spy. Seriously. I mean, Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, all this really does, I think, is just basically show how corrupt and evil these people actually are, which we pretty much already knew that they were evil and corrupt. We've just known it. Now, trying to get anybody from the left to see this, yeah, that's not going to happen. Because those people are sycophantic, worshipers. They drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago, and they are definitely not going to let go of anything regarding this kind of thing. There was a meme that was put out that said, hey, intelligence is when you are able to change your opinions upon when you're able to change your opinions upon new information. That's intelligence. And the left doesn't have any, because they are not going to, no matter how many times we show them evidence that nothing happened or evidence to the contrary of what it is that they are trying to talk about, they immediately are like, no, that evidence is wrong. That's not evidence. That's hearsay, whatever, Anyway. Well, surprise, surprise. The individual who wrote the Hunter Biden laptop letter also helped Clinton tie Trump to Putin in the Russiagate hoax. Oh, gee. This is really not much of a surprise. Guy's name is Mike Morell, and he's best known as the driving force behind the infamous Hunter Biden laptop letter in 2020. You remember that letter where he said the 51 intelligence analysts said this has all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation, when it wasn't actually Russian disinformation, that it was the actual Hunter Biden laptop, and the information on it was verified to be correct and accurate? Yeah. That same guy who was the former acting CIA director, that same guy played a role in Hillary Clinton's failed 2016 bid to smear Donald Trump. So Morell had recruited the 51 ex-spies in 2020 to falsely claim the laptop was somehow tied to Russia. He also led a letter in 2016 signed by over 50 former national security officials who insinuated that Trump had nefarious links to Putin's Russia. So this is the same guy doing pretty much the same thing. His claims, of course, would be heavily relied upon by the Clinton campaign throughout the summer and fall of 2016, and Clinton would personally and repeatedly tout Morell's endorsement about and his claims about Trump and Putin. So this is, according to new declassified evidence, shows that the FBI was alerted to the intelligence in 2016, indicating that Clinton planned to smear Trump, which we already knew this, by linking him to Russia in an effort to distract from her scandal surrounding the sending of classified emails on her illegal and illicit email server. So, yeah, Morell told the New York Times that he decided to weigh in 2016 on his own and not due to outside considerations. Yeah. Morell, Palmieri, and the Clinton Foundation did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Just the News, which is where I got that information from. So, yeah. It's starting to break open a little bit more. Just a little bit. Drips. I got to give a real quick shout out to Outlaw Dogs. Outlaw Dogs has rated our stream. So hello, Outlaw Dogs, and anybody that watches you. I do appreciate that. That is great. So, and I appreciate that. All right. So All right, sorry, I had to take a quick drink, wet the whistle, All right, so this, it's kind of interesting, this whole thing about the Texas gerrymandering, okay? The whole thing with this, and I got to tell you, this is like another big nothing burger, let's be honest. Because of the fact that gerrymandering has been done by the Democrats so often and all the time. And so this idea, of course, that that gerrymandering is something that is illegal, nefarious, so on and so forth. This is kind of a, I don't know. It's just a big nothing burger. I mean, let's face it. The left really doesn't have anything to go after anybody for anymore. And so they're kind of dredging up and trying to dig things out and trying to make it sound like this is just something that is like, oh my gosh, so bad. Well, it's not bad. And what's interesting, though, is that even some leftist folks are figuring this out. That's right. Even some leftist people are figuring this out. So CNN, of course, has that round table that they do. You've seen them. I don't know what the name of the freaking show is, but anyway, they have this little round table that they do, and Scott Jennings sometimes is on it. He's not. I don't think he's on this one. He's definitely not a part of this clip. But there is there was a guest named Batya Ungar Sargon. And she is a leftist Trump supporter, meaning that she's a leftist, but she supports Trump. However, she made a comment that sort of puts this entire thing realistically into a bit of a, well, I mean, let's face it. It kind of shows that the left is really, really grasping at straws here. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the clip, and I'll explain in a moment. And hold on just a second. Here we go. All right. So take a listen to the clip.
Well, gerrymandering is one of those things that everybody does. Like the idea that Donald Trump made this up is, I think, kind of insane. I don't think you really think that. I mean,
I definitely didn't say that.
They fled to Illinois, which is one of the most, gerrymandered states in the union. I happen to love this story because I love the political theater of it all. I love that they absconded. I love that now there are arrest warrants out. I think that the American people don't care at all about this. But what's most interesting to me about this is that these new 5, potential Republican-controlled districts are all majority Hispanic. The Republicans are leaning into the victories that Trump had with Hispanic voters in 2024 and saying, hey, we're going to bet on ourselves. We're going to bet that we're going to keep these voters, and we're going to try to get them into our coalition via these districts. And it's amazing to me that the Democrats, instead of fighting for those voters, are just kind of running away and ceding the point that these Republican districts full of Hispanics are now going to go for Republicans eternally.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
So, did you catch that point? Did you catch the point that she makes at the end? Or, well, toward the middle. The point is that, gerrymandering typically, just so you understand, gerrymandering is the process by which you come up with congressional districts when either a seat, a Congress or House of Representatives seat is added to a state or taken away from a state. Because each congressional district has to be redrawn, and it's usually done every 10 years, just like with the census. It's typically done after the census is taken, and they determine, okay, how many seats did you lose, how many did you gain, et cetera, and then you go and you redraw your congressional districts to come up with the representatives. The key that she is pointing out here that the left and the Democrats have been talking about, they are getting frustrated, of course. They are getting frustrated, of course, over the fact that some key districts, 5 in particular, okay, 5 in particular, are potentially going to be taken away from the Democrats that are in those areas in Texas. And the reason being is because as they redraw the lines, okay, now keep in mind, none of this is actually assured. Okay, you could gerrymander a district and then all of a sudden it would flip over to the Republicans or the Democrats, vice versa, because you never really know necessarily how the populace is in that area is going to vote. However, and especially nowadays, okay, however, there are some general trends. For an example, if you can make a district predominantly a district of people of color, you, generally speaking, have been guaranteed to have a Democrat representative in that area. And so this is what the Democrats have done. They've done this heavily in California, Illinois, and New York in particular, okay? And they go and they kind of draw these like long winding lines to try and wrap in predominantly, certain race-based districts. Oftentimes it has things to deal with Hispanic districts or black districts, because of the fact that those two populations generally in the past have been the ones that are voting Democrat. However, Trump destroyed that in 2024. Trump destroyed that in 2024 because he actually picked up both black and Hispanic voters as a part of his coalition to gain him the presidency. And so what's happening here is Texas is redrawing these areas because, according to the census, they picked up 2 more seats. They're redrawing these areas, and what's happening is they're redrawing them to make a little bit more sense. I mean, get them contiguous, meaning putting them together, getting them evenly as distributed as possible, which is all part of the way that Texas and other states are really supposed to do this. But the thing here is that the 5 districts that the left seems to think that they're going to be losing, they are predominantly Hispanic, which would typically be a voter bloc that the left would count on. And so they're sitting here and they're thinking, okay, this whole idea, as far as they're concerned, they already believe, the left or the Democrats in Texas, they already believe that they've lost them. So what they want to do is they want to try and keep the Hispanic vote, which largely went to Trump. I mean, a good portion went to Trump. A much more of a percentage of the Hispanic vote went to Trump this last time in 2024 than, say, the black vote, even though he gained votes in the black community. He ended up to where, he gained a lot more of the Hispanic vote. So this is the assumption that's being made. But again, this would be like, Democrats, you guys, you're losing. You're actually losing. You've already lost certain demographic blocks that have been voting for you for decades. You're actually losing them because of your far leftist ideologies. But rather than recognizing that, they're deciding to just say, oh, well, we're just going to pick up and take off, and we're not going to show up where they legally are supposed to. Well, yesterday I told you arrest warrants were sworn out. Well, now Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has announced that he is seeking judicial orders to declare that the state Democrats who do not return to the legislature by the state House Speaker's deadline, that they have considered to have vacated their offices. So, yeah. He has now done it. He's filed for it, and those Democrats that have fled the state, I should say, the state of Texas, yeah, They are now going to be in some serious trouble in getting this done. So, yep. And it's been filed. I've already seen the at least a facsimile of that. Now, Democrats are even losing further. And this is also in Texas as well. So, the Biden administration challenged a Texas law that was requiring mail-in ballots to include some sort of a state identification number or at least a partial Social Security number. And basically what's happening here is that first decision got appealed. And the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals on yesterday, unanimously rejected their challenge to the Texas law. So back in September of 2021, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott signed the Election Integrity and Protect Act into law. It was immediately challenged by the Biden administration and other leftist groups, including the League of Women Voters, who claimed that the law violated the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In November of 2023, U.S. District Judge Javier Rodriguez struck down the provision of the Texas law requiring voters who used mail-in ballots to provide some sort of identification number. But last December, the Fifth Circuit Court paused the 2023 injunction, and on Monday, it went ahead and dismissed the lower court's claims. It said, mail-in ballots are not secure. Staunch conservative Judge James Ho wrote. He added that the law fully complies with a provision of federal law known by the parties as the materiality provision of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. He says the ID number requirement is obviously designed to confirm that each mail-in ballot voter is precisely who they claim they are, and that is plainly material to determining whether each individual, or whether such individual, I should say, is qualified under state law to vote. Merely requiring mail-in ballot applications to list the voter's name and registration address triggers significant election security concerns. That information is easily available to anyone who simply requests it from Texas election officials, who readily provide copies of voter files with such information on request. As a result, any person can request and receive that information about a registered voter, use that information to apply for a mail-in ballot, and then cast the ballot with minimal risk of detection, he continued. He said, Ho continued and said, plaintiffs insist that there isn't enough evidence to show that the ID number requirement would be meaningful or would meaningfully reduce voter fraud. Texas strongly disagrees. Our precedents compel us to side with Texas. We have made clear that states have a legitimate interest in combating voter fraud and thus enjoy considerable discretion in deciding what is an adequate level of effectiveness to serve their important interests in voter integrity. Now, because the Biden administration is no longer the Department of Justice in this, I highly doubt it's going to go beyond this. So Texas now has mail-in ballots that are set up or can be set up to have identifying numbers added to them to ensure that the individual who hands in the ballot is the actual individual who hands in the ballot. So this is a good thing. This is a good win. And honestly, I wish that other states would go ahead and do this. All right. One problem that the Democrats have, and you listen to them whenever you look at things like the Democrats, whenever you listen to the Democrats, whenever you hear them speak, Their thought processes, their mindsets are beyond the idea of Americanism and America values. Their thought processes are, what do I have or who am I above being American? Now, when you ask a conservative person, like if you were to ask me, who are you? What are you? I am an American. I'm not a European American. I'm not a Germanic American. I'm not a, Irish American. I'm strictly American. And the left, of course, has put in the hyphenated idea. Because if you go to any other country, if you go to England, let's say, and you sit in front of an English person, many English people, and you ask them, hey, are you an Asian Englishman? Or are you a black Englishman? African Englishman. Are you a, whatever Englishman? Nobody will answer that way. They will look at you as though you were an idiot. And they will say, I'm English. I am an Englishman. Period. Well, the Democrats, they don't think that way. They constantly believe that they are something more than just plain American. In fact, some of them may even despise the idea of saying that I am an American. That's what this House Democrat did at a progressive international conference. Progressive caucus members, including Representatives Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, they attended a summit organized by a radical left-wing group. And this one individual, and this is at the second annual Pan American Congress, they had all kinds of people there, all members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And during her remarks, let's see, what's her name? Della Ramirez of Illinois, during her remarks at the opening of the event, okay, she spoke about the Trump administration's illegal immigration crackdown, and then she spoke about her own ancestry. And she said, I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. She declared that in Spanish. And here's the problem, folks. And I'm going to tie this to the whole idea of birthright citizenship, okay? The entire idea of birthright citizenship includes the idea that you, and again, if you become a naturalized citizen, all right? If you become a naturalized citizen, you are required to swear off any tie to any other country. You are required to say, I freely and wholeheartedly, without reservation, give up all ties to my former country. That's paraphrasing a little bit, but it's pretty damn close to what they say. And so for you to sit here as an American, sit here and say that, yeah, America, I am something else other than just being American, that's going against the whole precept and concept of what America was built on. And again, the whole precept and concept is that you are giving yourself, without any reservations, to this country. And by doing so, you are basically taking away any of your ties to any of the other country. My wife's great-grandfather came here from Italy. And the minute he hit Ellis Island, he immediately started speaking English. He gave up his home country because he wanted to be an American. And this is what these leftists don't seem to understand. The whole idea of immigration, and I've seen, memes running around on the socials. They all talk about, oh, well, it's the melting pot. I remember back when you were in elementary school and you learned about the melting pot. Wow, being an adult now just shows you that no, the melting pot doesn't count. No, it actually does count, folks. It does count. The whole point of the melting pot was to bring the best of your country and assimilate into American culture and add the best of your country to the American culture. That was the whole point. You came here and you became American, which includes a lot of other cultures. Now, the Democrats don't believe in that concept. See, they believe that you should come here and be Guatemalan American. That's not right. That isn't the purpose of legal immigration here. The purpose of legal immigration is for you to come here, bring the best of your culture, and assimilate. That's the key. Assimilate into America. This illegal immigration and these people who come here on the visas and only come here to work and then go home, they don't want to assimilate. There is nothing for them to assimilate to. They don't want to give up their ties to their home country. They want to keep those ties. All they want to do is come here and suck off of our successes and send that money home and be still attached to that home country. That's not what America is supposed to be about. This goes the same way with the idea of birthright citizenship. Again, it is beyond just being born within the country. It is a individual choice. It is an individual choice that you are here of your own free will. You have decided to become American, and now you are cutting all ties to your former country. If you had a former country. In other words, your parents, at least one of them, must be American already, whether it's naturalized or birthright. You need to come here with the idea, if you're planning on becoming an American, you need to come here with the idea that you will never, ever be another American, another country person ever again. Because America itself doesn't recognize dual citizenship. And so every little piece that I've given you so far all points to the same thing, and that is that you must give up your attachment to other countries and become wholeheartedly American. That's the whole point. That is what the phrase in the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, is for. And these people, like this woman here who claims that she is Guatemalan before she's American, is not doing that assimilation. That's not what she is doing. She is putting her former country ahead of America. And we don't need those kinds of people here. We really don't. We need people who are willing to come here, cut all ties to other countries, and become quintessentially American. But the Democrats are not going to do that. All right. Let me take a second. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't see anything that I like. All right. Well, do you remember the Biden Act? The aptly named Biden Act? I got to tell you, I'm fairly entertained by the Senate Republicans and especially the Senate Republicans. I think the House Republicans are too tied up in all of their investigations to really do anything with this. But this actually works out. So here in PJ Media, the Senate Republicans could bring down Adam Schiff and Letitia James with what they are calling the Letitia Act. Senator John Cornyn, has introduced, listen to this title, okay, has introduced the law enforcement tools to interdict troubling investments in abodes, also known as the Letitia Act. So this bill, apparently having been introduced now, this bill represents a serious move to expand criminal liability and, more importantly, stiffen penalties for public officials who abuse their positions for personal gain, specifically through shady dealings like mortgage and tax fraud. So the intent behind this legislation, there's no mistaking it, it's going after Letitia James, and as we now know, the impact on Adam Schiff is there. So, yeah. Housing Authority, just to remind you, Housing Authority Bill Pulte, Pulte, however it's pronounced, has accused Schiff of falsifying bank documents and misrepresenting primary residences across multiple states to secure more favorable mortgage terms. It's exactly what Letitia James kind of did. And these aren't garden variety clerical mistakes, actually. They're deliberate moves that, under Cornyn's proposal, would be subject to mandatory prison terms. If signed into law, the Letitia Act would slap public officials convicted of bank fraud, loan or mortgage fraud, or tax fraud with minimum sentences: 1 year for bank fraud or loan fraud, 6 months for tax fraud, ratcheting all the way up to 5 years for repeated patterns of abuse. So, no more tepid reprimands or backroom wrist slaps for the insiders who get caught. Oh, yeah. So, Cornyn is making no effort to hide his intention to empower President Trump and authorities to finally hold crooked politicians like New York's Letitia James accountable for defrauding their constituents, violating their oath of office, and breaking the law. The context leaves little doubt. This bill is not meant just as a warning to all, but also calibrated legislative knife aimed specifically at the likes of James and Schiff, high-ranking Democrats who have made a career out of prosecuting their rivals and hoisting the banner of unassailable virtue. Yeah. So, the article states, when law's hammer falls, it must strike without favoritism. I agree with that. I mean, it's just that's what I think. The message from Senate Republicans is unmistakable. If Schiff is guilty of mortgage fraud allegations levied against him, he should face the same jail time and personal ruin the system eagerly imposes on anyone outside of the Beltway. The Letitia Act, if passed and enforced, tears down the shield of privilege, daring to answer the question, will Adam Schiff finally be held legally accountable? Now, again, if you've been a long-time listener of this program, you do know that they only have immunity from arrest going to and from their meetings and during the time that they are on the Hill. That's it. That's it. They don't have immunity from stuff like this, which is where we've sort of vaulted them into those positions. We've put those people on a pedestal such that you think that, hey, when you get pulled over, to get a ticket, that you're immune from arrest? If Congress is not in session, you absolutely are. That's why the Democrats who stormed and put their hands on ICE agents are in the trouble that they're in, because they don't have that immunity. That's constitutional. And I'm telling you, folks, as much as the left wants to argue and complain about all of the stuff that Trump is doing, Trump's administration is the most constitutional administration I've seen in decades. Decades. Now, whether or not this actually happens, okay, is going to have to be, whatever happens here. But we'll have to kind of see what happens. Will it actually come out? I don't know. Will it actually come out to anything? I don't know, honestly. But the fact of the matter is that the GOP doesn't seem to be playing softball anymore. They seem to be playing some hardball with this, and they're looking to try and get it done in the next 4 years, to be honest with you. So, anyway. Well, this popped, and I was kind of interested in this article. Apparently, there's some memos that were released here recently. They were internal memos from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. They apparently had long-standing concerns about none other than Minnesota Governor Tampon Tim Walz and his connections to the CCP. Okay. Interesting. Especially they had concerns after he was selected by former VP Kamala Harris as her presidential running mate last year. So Homeland Security turned over the documents to the watchdog group Judicial Watch, which had filed a Freedom of Information Act request and sued the government earlier this year, seeking communications in an agency group chat that allegedly referenced this probe into Walz. The existence of those messages was shared with House Oversight Committee last year by whistleblowers, but the Biden-era DHS resisted turning over responsive documents. One Homeland Security employee wrote in an explosive message to the group called NFT Biweekly Sync. He wrote this on, or he or she wrote this on August 7th, 2024, said China is happy, one day after Harris announced Walz as a running mate, the memo showed. The employee then linked to a BBC News article detailing Chinese internet reactions to the choice, which were reported as largely positive. So in response to that text, another employee, whose name was also redacted, suggested looping in the FBI due to its responsibility for domestic counterintelligence, the messages show. So, that's interesting. That's quite interesting. So, and by the way, Governor Walz's office did not respond to a request from Just the News with regards to it. Yeah. Now, last year, the House Oversight Committee had launched a probe into Walz and his relationship with the CCP after learning from whistleblowers that investigators had serious concern about the governor's visits to China and interactions with Chinese officials over several years. The Biden administration, however, including Homeland Security and the FBI, was reluctant to turn over the responsive documents. There we go. There's another one. And as we close out tonight, I just want to point out that AOC is now under fire, not only for her tax the rich dress debacle, but she also apparently marked her fiance down as a spouse in some documents and not a spouse in other documents. Now, that alone wouldn't necessarily do anything, except some of the documents included things like congressional perks. One such perk, for an example, is a pin that spouses of congresspeople get to basically allow them to enter into more restricted spaces within Congress. So, yeah. She also failed to list him as a spouse on her required financial disclosures, which would have triggered a mandatory reporting of his financial assets. So they not only look at the congressperson, but they also look at the congressperson's spouse to determine whether or not there's any sort of nefarious things. How Nancy Pelosi and her husband got away with this, I have no idea. But anyway, so, yeah, she is now in a little bit of hot water with the ethics committee in regards to this. It's the same ethics committee report that, by the way, said that she received that dress illegally. So, yeah. Oh, jeez, people, if you honestly believe that these Democrats are not dirty and corrupt, I got a bridge in frickin' Arizona that I can sell you that is waterfront property. Okay. Anyway. All right, folks. That's it for me for this evening. Hey, if anybody sees Amy or whatever, let her know she needs to get that pet of the week in for tomorrow. Tomorrow night's Wednesday, Whiskey Wednesday, and, obviously it's a longer program, but we also have pet of the week. Hopefully we can get that in, because I know everybody's chomping at the bit to see those puppies. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor. If you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel. Hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to do a thumbs up or a thumbs down across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.